Hollywood threw away millions of dollars because audiences couldn't handle the truth that some of the most innovative sequels ever made were sitting right in front of them, and they completely missed the point. We're talking about sequels that dared to be different, that took risks when studios wanted safe retreads, and that got buried under the weight of impossible expectations set by their legendary predecessors. Here's the thing about movie sequels: they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. Copy the original too closely, and you're called a lazy cash grab. Try something completely different, and fans revolt because it's not what they wanted. But buried in that no-win scenario are genuine masterpieces that got caught in the crossfire of studio politics, audience expectations, and critics who couldn't see past their own preconceptions. Today, I'm diving deep into 5 forgotten movie sequels that deserved so much better than the hand they were dealt. Number 5. Predators, 2010. When most people think about the Predator franchise, they stop at the first 2 films. That's their loss, because Predators represents the most conceptually brilliant entry into the entire series. Instead of trying to recreate the jungle warfare of the original or the urban chaos of Predator 2, director Nimrod Antal made a genius decision. What if the hunters became the hunted on an alien game preserve? The setup is pure sci-fi gold. Elite killers from Earth, mercenaries, soldiers, yakuza, cartel enforcers, wake up free-falling toward an alien planet. They've been abducted specifically because they're apex predators in their respective fields. But on this world, they're prey for 2 warring tribes of Yautja engaged in their own blood sport. The cast is phenomenal in ways people don't appreciate. Topher Grace playing against type as a seemingly weak doctor who reveals his true nature in the climax. Alice Braga as a sniper dealing with impossible moral choices. Walton Goggins brings genuine menace as a death row inmate. Even smaller roles from Mahershala Ali, Danny Trejo, and Lawrence Fishburne add layers to the survival ecosystem. However, what really sets Predators apart is that it understands the Predator concept works best as a survival thriller, rather than an action spectacle. The film builds tension through isolation, paranoia, and the constant threat of being outmatched by superior hunters. When the action does explode, it feels earned rather than obligatory. Critics dismissed it as a pale imitation of the original, but they missed the point entirely. Predators isn't trying to be the original. It's asking what the original would look like if you stripped away everything except the core concept and rebuilt it from the ground up. The result is arguably the best Predator film since 1987. Number 4. The Wolverine, 2013. Everyone remembers Logan as the perfect send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. What they forget is that the Wolverine laid the groundwork for everything that made Logan work. This is the film that proved Wolverine stories work best when they focus on character over spectacle, when they explore what immortality actually costs someone who's seen too much death. Based on Chris Claremont and Frank Miller's legendary comic run, the Wolverine strips Logan of his healing factor and drops him into a world where his usual solution, violence, creates more problems than it solves. Set in Japan, the film becomes a meditation on honor, mortality, and what happens when an immortal warrior finally faces his own death. James Mangold's direction is precise and intimate in ways that X-Men Origins, Wolverine, never was. The film takes time to explore Logan's PTSD from decades of violence, his complicated relationship with the memory of Jean Grey, and his struggle to find meaning in a life that seems endless. When he's forced to protect Mariko, the granddaughter of a Japanese soldier whose life he saved in World War II, it becomes a story about redemption and second chances. The action sequences are brutal and personal. The bullet train fight is a masterclass in practical stunt work that puts most CGI spectacles to shame. The final confrontation with the Silver Samurai works because it's built on genuine emotional stakes, not just the need for a big boss battle. Hugh Jackman delivers his best performance in the role, showing vulnerability and genuine fear in ways the previous films never allowed. The film bombed critically because it came between the spectacle of X-Men Origins and the perfection of Logan. But watching it now, the Wolverine feels essential. The bridge between the action figure version of Wolverine and the complex, tragic character who would anchor Logan. Number 3. Halloween Ends, 2022. No sequel in recent memory has generated more controversy than Halloween Ends, and that's exactly why it deserves a second chance. David Gordon Green's conclusion to his Halloween trilogy isn't the Michael Myers rampage fans expected. It's something far more disturbing and intellectually ambitious. The film's central concept is brilliant in its simplicity. What if the real evil isn't Michael Myers, but the way violence spreads through communities like a virus? Halloween Ends introduces Corey Cunningham, a young man whose life is destroyed by a tragic accident on Halloween night. As the town of Haddonfield turns him into a pariah, we watch evil literally infect him through social isolation, mob mentality, and the legacy of trauma. Jamie Lee Curtis delivers her finest performance as Laurie Strode, finally embodying a character who has genuinely moved past her trauma rather than being defined by it. The film's most powerful moments come from watching Laurie try to save Corey from the path she once walked herself. It's a nuanced exploration of survivor's guilt, community responsibility, and whether evil is born or made. Halloween Ends failed commercially because fans wanted a greatest hits compilation of Michael Myers kills. What they got instead was a sophisticated thriller that uses the Halloween mythology to explore real-world concerns about social media bullying, community scapegoating, and how trauma gets passed between generations. Give it 10 years, and this film will be recognized as the most important entry in the franchise since the original. Number 2. Gremlins 2, The New Batch, 1990. Joe Dante's Gremlins 2 is the sequel that everyone claims to hate, but secretly loves, and it deserves to be recognized as one of the most subversive sequels ever made. Where the original Gremlins balanced horror and comedy in a small-town setting, the new batch throws that balance completely out the window and creates something that feels like Warner Brothers giving Dante a blank check to make the weirdest movie possible. Set in a high-tech Manhattan skyscraper, Gremlins 2 becomes a brilliant satire of corporate culture, media manipulation, and sequel expectations. The Gremlins themselves become more creative and chaotic, developing individual personalities and abilities that push the concept into pure surreal territory. We get a brainy gremlin, an electric gremlin, a bat gremlin, and dozens of others that feel like they escaped from a Chuck Jones cartoon. But here's what makes Gremlins 2 genius. It's aware that it's a sequel, and it uses that awareness to comment on the nature of sequels themselves. The film breaks the fourth wall multiple times, references its own production, and even features a sequence where the Gremlins appear to take over the movie theater and mess with the projection equipment. That was meta commentary decades before meta became mainstream. Gremlins 2 bombed because audiences expected more of the same small-town horror comedy from the original. Instead, they got an anarchic masterpiece that was more interested in deconstructing sequels than delivering them. Watching it now, the film feels like a prediction of how franchise filmmaking would evolve, and a warning about what happens when corporate interests override creative vision. Number 1. Superman Returns, 2006. Bryan Singer's Superman Returns is the most misunderstood superhero sequel ever made, and its failure changed the trajectory of an entire genre. This isn't just a Superman movie, it's a meditation on legacy, fatherhood, and what it means to be a symbol of hope in a world that's moved on without you. The film's premise is both simple and profound. Superman has been gone for 5 years, searching for remnants on Krypton. When he returns to Earth, he finds that the world has learned to live without him. Lois Lane has moved on, won a Pulitzer Prize for an article titled "Why the World Doesn't Need Superman," and is engaged to another man. Even Lex Luthor has evolved beyond simple real estate schemes into something more cosmic and threatening. Brandon Routh's performance as Superman is remarkable in ways that weren't appreciated at the time. He's not trying to imitate Christopher Reeve. He's channeling the same source material Reeve drew from, creating a Superman who feels both familiar and distinctly his own. His Clark Kent is genuinely different from his Superman, a performance trick that most actors can't pull off. The film's visual language is stunning, using practical effects and wire work that feels more real than modern CGI spectacles. The airplane rescue sequence remains one of the best superhero action scenes ever filmed, not because of its scale, but because of its emotional weight. When Superman saves the plane, he's not just preventing a disaster, he's announcing his return to a world that thought it had outgrown the need for heroes. Superman Returns failed because it arrived at the wrong time. Audiences in 2006 wanted the dark, gritty realism that would define the next decade of superhero films. Instead, they got the thoughtful, optimistic film that believed in the power of symbols and the importance of hope. The Dark Knight would prove that audiences preferred their heroes conflicted and morally ambiguous. What's your take? Are there other forgotten sequels that deserve a better chance? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the movies that Hollywood wants you to forget.